everybody. This is Quarantine Day 14, and this is the episode. Again, like yesterday, we're just going to do one episode today. It's the weekend, and we have a baby who had a very rough night of sleep because she's teething. We're just trying out some different things, the gels, the medicine, just trying to get her okay, but it's been a little bit of a go at it. So, yeah. So today I'm out here in our 3-season porch, as you can see here. And I am doing some seeding. So I've got some zucchini here that I'm going to pop in. So it's 1 inch. So get these in here, and then eventually I hope to kind of show everybody the rest of the garden. Yeah, so one thing you can do in Minnesota, since we do have a comparatively late danger of frost, like there's freezing all the way through April and even into a little bit of May. So it's can be really good to have something like this 3-season that we have, just because it allows us to get plants, acclimated to a little bit of the outdoor temperature, but sometimes it, if it freezes outside, if it's like down to 25 degrees, it'll probably stay about 30 in here, 30, 35. Don't want it to go down to 32. Yeah, probably won't go down past freezing in here. Generally not. I have found that it will go. You get problems once you're under 20 degrees, so that's kind of pushing it. So I know a lot of people can be a lot more serious with this whole process of seeding and really getting it started. Like the real hardcore people get their seeding done in February. So I've been meaning to get to this for a while, but just kind of had a few other distractions. So yeah, let's go take a look at the garden here. So just maybe a totally non-quarantine related video here. So yeah, one of the things I like to do is I like to compost, but my composting method is rather direct. So what that means is that I dig the compost in the soil, and then I plant vegetables on top of it. So let me get myself a little bit better light here. So as you can see, this is just a patch that I've dug some compost in. I have some other compost to kind of move in there. I kind of have other compost. The winter is kind of messy. I just put compost wherever. The snow covers it up, and then in March and April, then it kind of looks messy for a little bit until I get it dug in. So a big technique to help whatever kind of soil you have is to double dig, or to do raised beds. So depending on where you are in the Midwest, you can have somewhere between like 4 inches and like 20 inches of topsoil. And below that is what's called subsoil. And the subsoil has some minerals and some good stuff for plants to maybe get a little bit into, depending on the plant, but it generally can't grow. Here it's like a hard clay, at about, like, I would say 16 inches below. Maybe we're close to 20 inches in some areas. So what I do is I double dig. I put in the spade twice. Like the depth of my shovel's spade 2 times, and I dig that far. And then I put compost in, and then I put it up, build it up with some of the existing topsoil and maybe a little bit of compost that has decomposed a bit. So yeah, it can be a pretty effective way to do it if you don't want to do the raised beds. Because again, raised beds, you're just building more soil on top of the existing soil, so you're kind of doubling it that way. Whereas double digging, I'm taking out the topsoil, taking out a section of subsoil, putting in compost, getting that dug in. And then there's like a third technique that you can use, and these are just like gardening 101. You can put in what's called tillage radishes. Daikon is a really good one. If you don't grow anything, but you want to start maybe gravitating towards daikon, best thing in the world to do is daikon. Because what daikon does is it goes really, really deep, and it brings up nutrients from that subsoil. And you snap it off, but you don't snap off the whole root, because the whole root is really, really deep. So it's okay, you just snap off, about a foot of it that you can reach from your topsoil. And then that other section of that daikon then decomposes in the soil, it aerates it, so it's another thing, kind of gives like a little place for worms and other microbes to kind of get some movement down into the subsoil. So it's called radish tillaging, and it can be the lazy man's way to do it. So I've done that in some parts and other parts not. Kind of have a creeping Charlie problem in the yard here. Had an amaranth problem. As you can see, some of those tall, stocky things throughout the yard were amaranth, which has some pretty good edible seeds that you can harvest in the fall. Another thing here, if you're looking for things to do in Minnesota, pretty soon we're going to have fiddleheads. So I actually have the right type of fern back here for fiddleheads. So let's see if I can show it to you. These are the ostrich ferns, and you can see last year's ferns were a little too early right now, but there will be eventually some they look like fiddleheads, little baby fern sprouts shooting up from there. I've got a few more over here, and those are fun, even if you just get a few. They're a pretty delicious little treat. They're kind of like the best of broccoli and the best of asparagus together. So not really the same intense taste of asparagus, but just a little bit sweeter, kind of like broccoli, but then they have a bit more flavor than broccoli and a little bit less of a vegetal flavor, I would maybe put it. So they can be a fun thing. If you need something that technically you could do social distancing because you don't want to be picking fiddleheads where anybody else is. So if we go into April, boy, morel hunting, fiddlehead, ramps, all the spring hunting things, gathering things that I like to do are actually some pretty good options for the social distancing angle. Alright, well, there's my video, and yeah, gardening 101. If you do one thing in gardening, probably make sure to take care of your soil, because that will go a long way. And water, definitely water stuff, especially if you have sandy soil. So, alright, thanks everybody, bye.